And we're
Well,
live.
hello. We are live. Welcome, everybody. I think that we already have like 15 people, so that's super exciting. Thanks again for joining. I mean, we do this for you, and it's great that you are joining us. So we are super excited. Today we have a great topic and also a great guest. Like people are raving about this, so I'll introduce him in 1 second. I want to make sure that we give time for people to join. In the meantime, my name is Ignacio. I'm part of the Kiflo team. I'll be your host today, and I've got Tom from the Kiflo team, and he'll be the moderator. So he'll be kind of like taking care of the questions and making sure that everything gets answered. So welcome, Tom. And in the meantime, of course, in the chat, I think that we already have people saying hi. So tell us where you're from. We are super excited to have you all. We already have like 22 people. So we'll give 1 minute and then I'll introduce to our guest today and then we'll kick things up. So here from the, do we have an echo, Sunny? But gladly
I
to,
I don't hear any echo, but
no, it's
maybe
Hopefully
good.
it's okay once. Hopefully it's okay once it's
Nice.
just me on there.
Birmingham, UK, Netherlands. A lot of people know Chris, which is great.
Portland,
New York, wow,
Paris.
Portland,
Nice.
Paris, nice. Welcome. And we already have,
Denver,
yeah,
beautiful.
Denver. A lot of people
Toulouse,
from France, nice. Randy from Spain.
Spain.
Woo. We've got like all over the world, which is great. Okay, we already have like almost 30 people, so I think that we can kick things off. I want to introduce our guest today, Chris Lavoie. Welcome, Chris. We are super excited to have you, but let me give you some context. Chris has been helping a lot of partner managers to get to the next level. That's why we partnered with him and we invited him today. At Kiflo, we believe that strong partnerships are built by strong partner leaders, and Chris is basically nurturing the future of partner leaders. So he has his partnership mastermind. So Chris, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really grateful for the Keyflow team for investing in the future leaders. And to me, the partner managers out there are really shaping the future of how ecosystem growth is going to look like. So at Partnership Mastermind, we invest a ton in training and coaching and supporting the partner managers out there. So today is a really important topic around account mapping, which is really one of the number one tools at your disposal as a partner manager to drive major outcomes. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive in.
Well, that we are super excited. I'm guessing that everyone joining today is super excited as well. And yeah, also just to mention, because you already know this, but all the registrants will have the chance to win a fully funded seat at the next cohort from Partnership Mindset in Keyflow. So by Keyflow, and what we'll do is we'll announce that not today, but keep an eye on at the end. We'll make sure to explain how that's going to work. But I think that we're ready to jump into the first topic, right, Tom? Because we have a
Uh,
lot to cover. Chris has a lot of
absolutely.
information. Okay.
Absolutely. We're so much ready to jump into the first topic, which is basically the title of our
Yeah.
webinar.
Why account mapping
Sweet.
isn't driving revenue, and most importantly, how to fix it. And I think that we got a poll before Chris takes the lead. So, how would you rate the impact that you are getting from your current account mapping strategy? Okay, so minimum, sporadic value, solid value, major value. Just let us know so that Chris has an idea of where you're standing today. Okay, so sporadic seems like
Ooh,
sporadic.
we're in this product minimal are fighting.
Hmm. It's
Sporadic,
tough.
it's
It's
tough,
painful.
right? Like it's either sporadic or minimal, which is great for you today, Chris, because definitely we are
Yeah.
going to get a lot of value for the audience today. I think that sporadic is the winner, right? So yeah, um, I will let Chris now get into the first topic
Sweet.
and take it
I'll
from
just go
there.
ahead
So
and go.
Chris, yeah,
I'll just go ahead and
if
share
you
my
want to
screen.
share, yeah, that would be
Sweet.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Sweet and cool. And to the Keyflow guys, single screen today. So based on time, if you need me to if you need to give me a smack to make sure that I stay on schedule,
We
I'll
will.
trust that you'll hold me
Don't worry
accountable.
Tom,
about it.
Tom will let you know,
Absolutely.
so don't worry.
Yeah, cool. Don't hold back. Cool. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Everybody can let me know when you can see it, no problem.
Okay, perfect. So
you see and hear me okay?
Yes,
yes.
we
Can you
do.
see my Google Slides?
Now we do.
Y-
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And you see the next slide, so I'm just making double confirming.
Yep.
It's working perfect. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll jump right in because I know we only have so much time. Cool, really important topic today, and I'm really grateful for the Kiflo team for spotlighting this. And so today we're going to talk about why account mapping is not working, which based on that poll sounds like it's kind of working for some and it's not working at all for others. And I'm going to talk about today how it's not a tool issue, it's really a strategy issue, and we're going to dive deep into that. A quick intro to myself, and feel free to scan this to connect with me on LinkedIn, but really quick, born and raised in Nova Scotia, Canada, got a PhD in chemistry, thought I was going to become a professor because I love to teach and I'm a big nerd, but had a quarter life crisis like a lot of folks did, somehow found my way into partnerships and certainly never looking back. In my full-time job, I'm currently heading up global partnerships at a e-commerce ISV company, have a really talented team across the globe. And because teaching and training is so central to who I am, 2 years ago, I started this partnership mastermind company where we provide training and coaching for largely for partner manager folks. And we've graduated over a few hundred people from this program from leading companies that you're certainly familiar with. And as Ignacio had mentioned, Kiflo has graciously put up a sponsorship scholarship for one lucky student in our upcoming cohort starting the week of April 14th. So this is an 8-week guided boot camp. This is a picture from yesterday. We graduated our 8th ever class. Some really great students from top companies like Shopify, Klaviyo, etc. And so you're getting an opportunity to win one of these seats because you've showed up here today. So you've already taken a big step forward in your growth. So as Ignacio had mentioned, we're going to basically make a decision on who the lucky randomly drawed winner will be and announce it to you early next week if you're interested. So again, some of your companies don't offer learning and development stipends, but you're really ambitious for your growth. This is a really rare and great opportunity to get a free sponsorship into our program. So stay tuned for that, and certainly very grateful for Kiflo for putting up a student in our upcoming programming. And again, you'll be able to join some pretty great folks. You can see some of our alumni companies. And in addition to the skills, you can see there's a lot of one-on-one connections that form in these programs, and that's what you can expect in joining. Now on to today's topic. This is a nice transition because in these cohorts, I have students at the very beginning of the program self-evaluate themselves across 10 key skill areas, such as negotiation skills, data savviness, public speaking, etc. Also account mapping and Crossbeam skill. And it's interesting that consistently over now 9 cohorts that I've had, the Crossbeam and account mapping skill sees the biggest jump. And it's interesting because I don't have a set topic for account mapping, but it always seems to develop. So you can see in red the average of the cohort entering the program, and you can see what their self-reported score was exiting the program. Looking at it differently, this is the self-reported growth across key areas. Some really great results, but somehow it's Crossbeam skill that always seems to be number one in terms of the growth area. And I think this really validates the concept that it's not any issues with the tool itself, but a lot of partner managers are lacking the surrounding skills, the strategic finesse that's required to use a tool like Crossbeam and account mapping tools effectively. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. So we'll get right into it. So as a primer, and this is important to understand, one of the things that makes partner management in today's standards so challenging is that, especially for full lifecycle partner managers, where you're required to hunt and attract and sign partners, then you've got to nurture and onboard them to activate them, and then you've ultimately got to extract leads and deal flow from them. You're basically navigating 3 distinct funnels, right? You're trying to attract partners up here, and then you get into the flirty phase where you're having discovery calls, and then you got to onboard them and then sign them, and then finally you start extracting leads from them, and then you've got to help the sales team nurture those leads, and then finally they get into the sales pipeline, and then ultimately they close one, right? I was exhausted just explaining that, so you can just imagine how tiring this is in practice. And the key here is that account mapping can help you at every stage of this journey. And the best partner professionals are full life cycle, meaning they know how to operate at each stage of each of these 3 funnels. And as we'll talk about today, account mapping can really help you at each stage. And so my take-home statement at the very front is the reason account mapping is failing is not because of the tool, it's the strategy and the training you need to do it. And so that's our goal today, is to teach you how to turn the data into insights, action, and ultimately outcomes that matter to your business. So as Ignacio had mentioned, our first topic is what causes most account mapping programs to fail, right? So as an example, we've all looked at Crossbeam overlap matrices, which you can see an example here. It should be pretty straightforward, right? It should be intuitive, right? We should know what to do based on key overlaps. Crossbeam actually gives us guides, right? If it's mutual customers, build a tech integration, drive adoption. If it's mutual opportunities, right, we should be co-selling or co-marketing. So it begs the question, why is it so ineffective for so many folks, as evidenced by the poll we just ran? Because we have all the data, we're being told what to do with a given overlap population. It doesn't make sense. What's missing? So I'm going to drill down here on what I view as the 6 biggest reasons that account mapping falls flat for so many folks, including folks who are attending this webinar today. First one is data overload. So there's paralysis by analysis, where it's so exciting once you first log into something like Crossbeam and you see all this data, you feel like you're already 90% the way there, right? But the data is not nearly enough. And sometimes you'll complicate the situation by consuming and focusing on too many partners and too many accounts. So that's tip number 1. Another big one is the misalignment and also just misinformation, where your partners may be only sharing a fraction of the information they could be, or you're only sharing a fraction of the information you could be, or you have poor data hygiene, or the partner has poor data hygiene, which compounds the issue. So you really need to understand what's the most honest assessment of your data quality as you're interacting with specific partners, because if it's poor on one side or both sides, you really don't have a leg to stand on. A big focus, as we'll talk about today, and if you know me, you know I'm big on playbooks, is you're lacking a framework, right? There's no clear process to take you from the data to the revenue. Everyone knows that they have the data. Everyone knows the goal is the revenue, but few are able to orchestrate that in a sequential fashion to drive action and drive outcomes, right? A lot of folks are just winging it. And then the 2 I really want to drill down on, though, is a lack of alignment both internally and externally. You can very much get a lot done as a solo artist within the confines of, say, Crossbeam, where you're doing account mapping, picking accounts, even drafting copy and relevant messaging. But at some point, to really stand up a successful account mapping strategy, you're absolutely going to need buy-in internally from sales folks, from your customer success and account management org, and you're certainly going to need strong alignment with your main POCs. So if you're going to listen to me on anything on this slide, lack of alignment internally and externally is a key death knell that really squashes any momentum on account mapping. And these are the 2 areas you want to focus on, not rushing into things. So what does a great success playbook look like in terms of from mapping to deal flow? This is an oversimplification, but hopefully should give you a guide as to what the best partner managers are doing to really drive major outcomes from Crossbeam. Step 0, and this might surprise you, is before you even get into data sharing and account mapping, you really need to ask yourself, is this partner actually worth investing and doing any activities with at all, right? And you got to be pretty ruthless here, because every hour you spend on partner A or partner B, who's actually not a good fit, doesn't deserve your resources and attention, is an hour taken away from investing in partner C or D, who really deserves your attention and will prevent you from spending time in aligning internally and aligning with those partners. So step 0, really make sure that the partner is actually worth it. Step 1, as I said, is really making sure that both sides have clean hygiene data and ultimately are exposing all the relevant information so you have a holistic view. Step 2 is being ruthless and rigorous in pinpointing the most relevant high value accounts, right? This is something that I see too many folks mess up, where you're just picking all the big logos. You're taking a very qualitative, subjective approach to picking accounts, whereas you should be leveraging as much data as you can to really make informed decisions on which accounts to go after. Okay, great. At this point, we know we have the right partner, we know we're sharing the right data, and we know we're picking the right accounts. That's a big milestone. So now in step 3, it's actually mapping the engagement path to specific accounts. And even with this specific partner, the engagement path to accounts within a same partner might be different, right? For instance, for a given partner and a given accounts, maybe it's best to go through an account management team for accounts A, B, and C, but maybe your enterprise sales team is actively in deals with accounts D, E, and F. So you really want to take time to map out what that optimal path looks like. Step 4 is you need exceptional messaging and a story to tell. If you're trying to service a warm referral op for your partner based on accounts you've identified, and you're going to engage your customer success manager, for example, you need to knock their socks off and you need to sell the crap out of why you think your partner solution is a good fit for their client at this time, because you're asking them to stick their neck out and interrupt a normally scheduled QBR to perhaps broach a partner conversation. So you really need exceptional messaging there. And then the final thing is actually engaging them and then monitoring and tracking what's actually happening on the data side. So this is a high level overview of what best in class modern account mapping looks like. So now let's get to the
So
topic at hand. Yeah, go
we
ahead.
have a question. Sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah, you're
Chris,
good.
but
Please.
Thibault is actually asking, would the inability to onboard key actors among the partner onto the partnership fall into lack of alignment internally or externally?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it could be a bit of both, right? I've seen examples where the problems all were on the internal side, and then I've seen a lot of instances where the problem is external side. So I think the key tip there is you need to slow down, right? You really need to slow down. And I know I'm a fast talker, so it's a bit ironic, but you definitely need to slow down and make sure that you're going through the steps in the right order and the right time and not getting ahead of yourself. If at some point certain people internally are going to be required to step in, are they aware? Do they have the bandwidth? Do they have the skill to actually participate? And then same thing with your partner side. It's not just the partner manager on the other side, it's also some key contacts and stakeholders on their side. Are they bought in? Are they aware of what you are committing to? My big tip there is just really slowing down to make sure that people are aligned internally, and then obviously applying that externally as well.
Perfect. We also
Awesome.
have one technical question. They're asking
Sure.
if you would be willing to share this like pitch deck with them
Deck.
after.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I'll make
Great.
this fully available. And we're going to get to the this has just been a warm up. We're going to get to real screenshots and real examples in a moment. This will be the most exciting part.
Nice.
I promise.
Let's get to it.
Okay.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Cool. So next up is we're going to get into working with sales, because the whole purpose of account mapping is to surface, there's co-marketing plays as well, but the main purpose is to generate qualified leads and deals and revenue, which goes hand in hand with your sales team. So we're going to spend a good chunk of time now talking about working with them. And you might be asking yourself, okay, if account mapping is in service of filling sales pipeline, then why don't my AEs care? And this is something I'm sure a lot of us resonate with, right? This statement: my sales team is so hard to work with. They don't want to get partners involved. They don't want to leverage Crossbeam insights or co-sell, right? You can raise your hand. Can't see you right now, but raise your hand, so to speak, if this has been said by you. Certainly, it's something that I've said. And my big takeaway is that we need to humble ourselves. It's very easy to think that partnerships is so important, which it is, and we sit at the center of the universe within our company, which is true in many respects. But we need to humble ourselves and understand that every other department has competing priorities that are different than our own. So how can we find that overlap in the Venn diagram where we're mutually aligned, and how can we talk that language? So as an example, sales outcomes is all about hitting their quota. Account mapping for us is all about hitting our partner goals, right? But the beautiful overlap in the middle is, for example, co-selling success. So how can you really switch your narrative and drill down on this emphasis with your sales folks? So how can we change their mindset, right? Sales cares about hitting quotas. They don't care about our metrics. We need to present this as a faster time to hit quota. We need to provide all the right data. We need to make it super easy to collaborate. And as an example, you really need your manager to help align with sales managers, as an example. But the big takeaway here is that you really do need to do all the heavy lifting, and you need to deliver and serve up a hot win on a silver platter to your sales team before they're even going to get bought in. And it might take a couple wins. And so now we're going to finally get into some really powerful examples. So now let's imagine you get a Slack alert. And for those of us who use Slack and use Crossbeam for notifications, let's just imagine you get a Slack alert of a major new sales deal that overlaps with your partners. How could you make the most of this opportunity to further the win probability of that deal, and also make your sales team look good, and also make your partner look good? So these are going to be real examples throughout. I've just blurred any sensitive information, but it'll still tell the same tale. So is make sure that you're actually getting alerts of major deal overlapping with a partner, right? So as an example, this population overlap is our active deals with all partner active deals. So you can see our open opportunities matched up with a bunch of other partners and their open opportunities, and I can see who our AE is. Okay, great. Now I've been alerted in real time that one of our major deals is an active deal with a bunch of other partners, which gives us a lot of at-bats. Chances are one of these partners can give us either intel or influence or both, and that's exciting for our sales team. Next, before you even engage the AE, which I will in a moment, do your homework to get as much information as possible, right? So we use HubSpot. So within HubSpot, we have a Crossbeam Copilot widget, which gives you tremendous information, right? At the account level, it's saying who the best partner is to work with. You can see all the key overlaps. You can see deals won with this account. And then it even tells you specific plays that we should be running with specific partners. It even tells us who the right contacts are at that brand, right? So again, I've blurred out specific names, but it's telling us, hey, the best decision maker to work with is this person who's the director of customer service operations, for example. So that's steps 2 and step 3 is check Crossbeam data to get as much information at the company and contact level, understand who the contacts are, understand who the surrounding partners are. Then step 4 is actually engage the partner and get information. Again, I haven't even talked to my AE yet. At this point, I'm just getting information. So in HubSpot, and Salesforce has this as well, you can run this thing called playbooks where you can just at a company level or a deal level submit information and it captures it as a note on the deal record. So here's a real example of one of my agency partner managers reaching out to this exact account, which is on our ABM target account list. And you can see he talked to the partner and got a lot of valuable information, right? So this is a template that we can fill out, provide all information you've collected on the partner that might help us. And so you can see our agency partner managers speaking about how they're on a retainer, blah, blah, blah. You can see who the decision makers might be, any other relevant information. So you can see we're already engaging the partner to get as much information as possible. Then we work with our AE, we engage the partner directly to see if we can get a warm intro, and then voila, right? We're able to do that. So you can see here a really warm introduction from the partner to that specific account. And again, it all started with getting a notification, doing some research to understand the data and as much overlap as possible, engaging the partner to get information, and then convincing them ultimately to make a warm referral. Hopefully these 5 steps should show you how simple something like that can be, and there's no reason that all of you can't set that up. So the next transition here is, what else can we do, right? So another big value you can deliver to sales is via partner influence, right? A lot of us are either quoted on close one source revenue, and then sometimes you also might be quoted on influence revenue. So there's a sales op that already exists. Maybe it was an ads driven deal, but you're ultimately responsible for impacting it via partner touch. Very common. So let's talk about some easy ways you can do this with account mapping. So again, first step, get alerts, right? So we use HubSpot. So I have a channel where every time a deal greater than 20K enters our sales pipeline of any source, we will get a notification on the partnerships team proactively. And basically the goal is, hey, can we attach a partner right away to improve the speed and win rate of that deal? So here's a real example, 100K deal enters the pipe. The action for my partnerships team, review the tech stack and relevant partners, engage the AE to see how specific partners can drive value, and then take ownership as the partner influence lead if they agree, and then get the partner involved. And then it has information, it has a link to the deal. So right away, we're just getting notifications, which is a key step. The next step is to analyze the Crossbeam insights and then engage the AE directly. So again, here's a real example of me following up. I say, hey there, just saw a big deal with so-and-so came through. Great. Look, I checked Crossbeam. It looks like they're a customer of check, check, check. This one is likely the best candidate. An active sales op of some other partners. Let me know if you want me to take a swing at engaging these partners. And when the time is right, I'll get them to give a strong endorsement. So again, super simple. Get notifications, do a little homework, engage your AE with really strong personalized copy like this. And then boom, what happens? We train our AEs to actually submit what we call request partner influence playbooks within our CRM, where at the deal record, they can just click a little widget button, provide us a little bit of information, and then we will get a notification saying, hey, the AE has broken glass in case of emergency. They need help on this deal, and then we can get involved. And so this is what it looks like, right? This is them actually filling out the information. What type of influence are you requesting? Could be advocacy, could be intel. They have to give us context on the win probability, where the deal stands today, which partner they think is best to fit, and how urgent is this request. And again, we can collaborate on deal notes. So hopefully that's another powerful example of just getting simple notifications makes it so easy to then follow up proactively. And then ultimately, when you start delivering value, your sales team will be trained enough to actually do this themselves and actually request help from you.
This is great, Chris. This
Two
is great,
powerful
Chris.
there.
I
Yeah.
think that there's a question from Aphrodita, right, Tom?
Well, it's more of a statement, but maybe Chris, you can maybe have an idea, how to overcome that. So Aphrodita is stating this assumes that everyone has access to use Crossbeam or some other tool like this, which isn't the case, unfortunately.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sure. So yeah, if you don't have Crossbeam, obviously your ability to do this is limited, but you can still make things work. Google, using Google Sheets. A lot of folks who don't use Crossbeam will use Google Sheets or spreadsheets with your partners. And if you have the data, to be honest, especially with modern AI and using automation tools like Zapier, for instance, pretty well everything I'm sharing here is largely available to you, and I'm happy to speak with anyone offline. But if you have your partner's client lists, and you have some type of CRM, HubSpot or Salesforce, and you have Google Sheets, and you can do some automation work, which is pretty straightforward, everything I showed is on the table, right? It's a little bit more tricky because you aren't using native tools like Crossbeam, but everything I've showed is absolutely possible. And there's no reason you can't make it work, right? And I'm happy to support anyone offline for that.
Totally.
Perfect.
Sweet. All right, cool. Well, my favorite one for last, which is, okay, we talked about influencing existing pipeline. That's great. But what about net new pipeline, net new source referrals, which is the quota element for a lot of partner managers, right? So this last one I'm going to talk about is how to use partner AE and CSM data, so account executive, customer success manager, to pinpoint the target account owners to unlock referrals for yourself. And the key preface here is for a lot of us in referral relationships, the people who actually directly work with customers are the people who can actually refer you leads. So you need to spend as much time as possible with those people, not with the partner manager on the other side. And the thing I always say to my team is, look, if it's just you working with the partner manager on the other side, that's not a partnership, that's a friendship. And so a literal KPI we monitor is how many people do you actually talk to at the partner company? And one of the most important stakeholders in a referral relationship is, not surprisingly, people who manage the relationships themselves. So step one, get your partners to expose who their AEs and CSMs are on your target accounts. I've blurred out the information just to make it more general here. If you're using Crossbeam or not, you can still do this. If you're in Google Sheets or whatever, you can still get them to expose this. But basically, imagine it's your prospects, your partners' customers. You have all the individual accounts. You can see who your AEs are, and then you can see who the partner's AE is. You can see who the partner's CSM is, as an example. That's incredible information. And with that, you can build what we build in Google Sheets, for instance. We can leverage that data to build these pivot tables where the names are blurred out, but effectively we can actually say our company has a top 1,000 account list, top 1,000 prospects, which we do, right? We can actually see, based on Crossbeam data, which partner employees in customer facing roles have the highest overlap with our top 1,000 accounts, and then we can stack rank them based on who manages the most. So literally, there's an employee at one of our top integration partners who's a CSM and manages 87 accounts in his book of business who are on our top 1,000. And then column E, it's blurred out, but it's literally specific accounts, right? So this is an incredible unlock where you're not shooting in the dark. Whereas a partner you might have could have 10, 20, 50, 600, 1,000 customer facing employees. That's a daunting task to understand where to even begin. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, versus this data driven approach allows you to just go directly to the most relevant person, right? Saving you a ton of time. So as an example, what you can do is you can actually build a funnel, which is something we do, of your partners reps in your CRM, and you nurture them to VIP status. And so this is really one of the most powerful playbooks I've ever been a part of, where let's just say a partner has 100 customer facing employees, account managers, CSMs, AEs. You can literally, in your CRM system or even in Google Sheets, identify them with a life cycle stage, right? Such as prospect, meaning you've never talked to them. And then the partner manager's job is to systematically engage and nurture them towards VIP status, where if they meet with the partner manager, the AE or CSM, it automatically moves their life cycle stage to engaged, right? And we give them like Uber Eats vouchers to meet with our partner managers. Then if that rep sends us a lead, now they're all of a sudden they're activated if it was a qualified lead, and that's all automated as well. And then if that lead ends up converting to close one, then now all of a sudden they're a VIP, right? Again, 100% managed in our CRM. And it makes it super easy for a partner manager to look at a single referral relationship and understand, okay, the goal is not to get 100 reps down to VIP, but can we get 5 from that 100 down to VIP and nurture them sequentially? So as an example, I showed you 2 slides ago, you can actually see which employees of your partner manage how many of your target accounts. Well, you can actually leverage that as a custom variable in any of your outbounding tools. So here's real example copy of one of my tech partner managers reaching out with personalized copy to one of these folks, right? Leveraging some custom information, saying, hey there, I'm reaching out as we both work with Custom 16, which is a specific account they manage in Crossbeam, which allows you to do this at scale, mutual customers of AfterShip in your company. We integrate, et cetera, et cetera. I've been collaborating with other CSMs like yourself, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to offer you $15 Uber Eats voucher to get on a meeting with me, right? So you can see how having the insights can drive really powerful actions and allow you to systematically engage the right folks. So I'll stop there because I know that was a lot.
This is amazing, Chris. This is a lot
Yeah,
of information, but I
great
think that people are
information.
raving and really liking this. So please put everything in the chat there. If you have
Yeah,
questions for Chris, now's the time to ask those. So I think that we
yeah.
got a couple of
Afrodita again wants to know, did you have to give some internal incentive for that? I guess referring to the whole case.
Yeah. So internal incentives, certainly. So if you know me, I'm a huge incentive person. So I incentivize all the micro actions. A lot of programs will just incentivize internal or external employees for like a big outcome. Like you referred a deal that closed one. But the time between them referring the lead in the first place and the deal closing could be months and months and months, and you've lost all that momentum. So I have this like tiered incentive program, whereas if a partner rep meets with us, $15 Uber Eats voucher. If they send an email to one of their brands or customers and BCCs us with warm copy, another gift card. If they complete a trivia challenge that we have, another gift card. And then obviously the rewards go up and up and up. And then internally, yeah, we absolutely offer commensurate incentives as well. And what's great is I have a couple of partners pay us rev share for revenue that we drive to them in the order of several $100,000 a year. And that basically funds this entire program, right? So it's really cost effective. You know, our finance team is thrilled because we're not paying anything out of pocket. We're just funding these external and internal SPIF programs based on just a couple partners paying us rev share.
wow. That's
Amazing.
I mean, that's a great takeaway. I mean,
Yeah, and
Definitely.
then we have also another question from Nate. He says, am I understanding that you're tracking lifecycle per rep at the partner company? If so, how do you maintain accuracy with turnover at these organizations?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do really strong question. So there's always going to be a few that slip through the cracks, but we typically do a quarterly refresh, right, on the data team with my ops team. So we're maintaining the contact database within our CRM, and then there's a lot of available tools where you can kind of just verify if that email is no longer active. So we basically do like a quarterly hygiene cleanup. You can't do it more often than that. It's just too much overhead. So yeah, typically a quarterly refresh to make sure that you're keeping things clean.
super clear.
That's great.
Any other questions, Tom, that we have pending for Chris?
No, I don't see any questions in the chat.
Okay.
So,
Chris, do
yeah.
you have something else because you've shared already the step-by-step playbook, or that's still to come?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a breath just to make sure I've seen any questions. But yeah, just one last thing to wrap up here, and then I'm happy to
Amazing.
answer another batch
Yeah,
of
because
questions.
we're right
Perfect.
out of time, but I think that people are still here, so it would be great
Yeah,
to share that with
this will
them.
be it. Yeah, we'll finish strong. So the last use case is using account mapping data to determine your ideal partner profile and specific partners to prioritize. And to keep it simple, this 2x2 matrix I created basically is a simple way to think about how to value and prioritize partners. And basically the hypothesis is that all of your partners and prospective partners can be put into one of 4 quadrants, right? And on the y-axis, it's value created for shared customers. So what is that story? And we always hear like 1 + 1 = 3 in partnerships. To be honest, it really needs to be 1 + 1 = 10. That needs to be the bar that we're setting. So it's value on the y-axis, which is most important. And on the x-axis, it's really enterprise value for your business, right? It's the serviceable obtainable market, which is a percentage of TAM that is actually accessible based on resources and skills. And my opinion is that you should be spending 80% plus of time on holy grail partners, who present really strong, accessible revenue pockets for your business, but also deliver disproportionate value to your customers. And then you can afford to do about 20% in the blue zone, where it's a really valuable partner on the product side and customer side, but maybe not so much on the revenue side. And then you really need to avoid any amount of time in the yellow or red. Like, that's got to be table stakes. You have to avoid them. I know this because I've spent a lot of my time in the red and yellow. Really fortunate that Bob Moore, the Crossbeam CEO, actually loved this enough to feature it in his book. And I think what he understands is that one of the biggest investments you can make and the biggest mistakes you can make is picking the wrong partners to prioritize. So in all of my coaching, I drill down that you need to spend so much more time than you think thinking about who you should actually talk to as a partner. Everyone just thinks, oh, this partner or this potential partner has similar customers as me, and maybe they even work with some of our competitors, and maybe there's even a use case for an integration. That is such a surface level way of thinking about ideal partner profile. So I won't get into this, but the slides will be made available to you afterwards. But to me, the percentage, where your real ideal partner profile lies, is a percentage of the overall TAM where the partners have similar customers to you, they sell to similar personas to you, and their solutions are bought at similar times as yours with respect to the life cycle of the customers that you serve. These are where your real partners are at. And the great news is you can use account mapping tools to drive progress in all of these areas. And finish up, this is the last slide, is okay, how do you actually report on KPIs to drive trust within your organization and drive more engagement? There's two types of indicators that will help you here. Leading indicators, which are more real time, help you pivot in real time. And I'll share this with you here. And then lagging indicators, right? So I really encourage you to think, are you actually tracking any of these things right now as it pertains to account mapping exercises? If you're not, that's okay, but you really need to start thinking about how can you start tracking these either manually via Google Sheets or ideally through BI tools or within your CRM with your ops team. But the more you can pinpoint the impact leading and lagging indicator wise that account mapping exercises and playbooks are running and having on your business, the more easy it's going to be to get trust upwards in the leadership circles and certainly to drive FOMO and adoption from your team. So that's it. Really appreciate the Kiflo team. Obviously appreciate you all for tuning in, and yeah, happy to answer any more questions if there might be some.
Amazing, Chris. I mean, that was extremely valuable, and I
Perfect.
think that people will take a lot of info. And honestly, they want that deck. It's going to be brilliant for them to have as well. Plus the recording. Everyone's getting the recording as
Everyone
well,
will get the
so
recording. Yeah.
that's perfect. I think that we've got
This,
one last question,
yes.
right?
Yeah. One last question from Thibault. He says monetary incentives sounds like a strong way to gain influence over the partner's AE team. Any other ideas?
Yeah, I think look, like you always have to understand what that person cares about. So if you're going to get in the inbox of a partner enterprise account executive, as a good example, right? They are already skeptical working with their own partner team, right? So just imagine how skeptical they're going to be when they get an inbound message to a partnership person at another company, right? Their trust barrier is going to be so high. So my big advice, other than incentives, to answer your question, Thibault, is you really need to speak their language. As an example, a real example, Shopify is a close partner of ours, and one of their large accounts, AEs, I didn't really have any success getting in touch with him. But then I found out that we were in a deal that he was working on, and I leveraged that to say, hey, I might have some interesting insights that you might find valuable in your deal cycle, because you might think it's going this way, but I actually have intel that says it's going another way. And he immediately got on a call with me, and now we're friends. We got that relationship building. So to answer your question, Thibault, it's you really need to be selling the value for that person because it's an exchange. You're asking for something clearly, otherwise, why would you even bother talking to them? So you need to be very upfront about, hey, I'm going to ask you for something, and this is what it is, but I know I need to scratch your back too, probably 2x what you're going to scratch for me, and here's what I think I can do for you, right? I have intel and influence on accounts that you're actually working that are customers of ours. Is that relevant for you? Yes? Okay, great. Here's what I'm looking for in exchange. I think a lot of partner managers don't have enough maturity yet, which is okay, to be super direct and finessed in that fashion. And you're kind of poo-pooing and dancing around it, right? You're like, oh, I just want to see if I can add value in your role, and, would love to see if we can collaborate on some things. And a partner rep is just going to be like, that's a waste of time. I'm never going to talk to this person again. Whereas if you get on the call and you're like, hey, look, this is an exchange, right? I can offer you legitimate value, but in exchange, I'm going to need you to do something for me. If you don't have time for this, no problem. I'm going to go to the next rep. But if you can buy in, let's get into it. And I'm very prepared for that. So I think you just need to be super direct.
that's a great way to wrap it up, Chris. I think
Exactly.
that
It's a great ending.
amazing. Well, if there are any other questions, please let us know. But I think that first of all, Chris, thanks for all the valuable stuff, for taking the time, and also for being a part of the Kiflo family now. And I think that well, people are also excited about the winner. The way that it's going to work, we will announce it. We'll share the list with Chris, and it will be randomly picked, but it's going to be announced next week. So keep an eye. We'll do it via LinkedIn, and it's going to be public, and everyone's going to know who's the winner. And then we'll get in contact with the winner so that we can arrange them to be part of the next cohort for Chris. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It has been an amazing session. Chris, again, thanks for everything. And keep an eye also, we have probably 2 already sessions booked for next month. So those are going to be great. And if you want to see any topic that we want to cover, please let us know and we'll cover those as well. But we are super excited because, again, you're enjoying it as much as we are enjoying them. And Chris, thanks again for taking the time.
Thanks so much, fellas. Really appreciate it, and definitely encourage anyone to get in touch, and hopefully to see one of you all in our upcoming cohort. So really appreciate
Definitely.
the opportunity.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much,
much,
everyone. Have a
and
great day.
see you soon.
See you in the next one.
See you,
Bye.
team.